All right, let's go ahead and get this Parks Board meeting called to order on October 15th, 7 p.m. We'll go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll do a roll call of our board members. Cynthia Frail. Here. Eric Portmas. Derek Lee. Here. Jenny Ashbrook. And I'm aware of present too. That's me. All right. So this being a special board meeting, Parks Advisory Board meeting, we have a presentation from our Parks Manager. The Parks Advisory Board, I'm not sure how, this is the most people we've had in this room in quite some time. We are a chartered board, to the city charter. We meet every, the first Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. in this room. So we were able to get out some, outside, have special meetings, just kind of get some more public interest, discuss kind of share what we've been doing, what's started to roll forward and whatnot. So we're going to share that information. Lanier has that nice presentation, and then we'll kind of break and just do kind of a kind of open house sort of deal. So Lanier, take it away.
Welcome everybody. I am happy, just like you said, this is the most people we ever had in our meetings, so I am glad you guys actually cared and got the information, and I thought that it was important to be here. So I won't bore you too much with the PowerPoint, but you'll find some of the information here, good information. We will open it up to a few questions, but we don't want to have a question and answer back and forth. We can do that at the end, but towards the end of the PowerPoint, I will ask for 3 questions and try to make those 3 questions not so much where they're just pertaining to you, make sure they're for the majority. First off, our focus. Okay. Our focus is to provide parkland and equitable programming to the community, giving all residents various opportunities to improve their quality of life and physical, mental, and social benefits that all parks offer. Are you guys familiar with how many parks we have in our community?
7.
Say it again?
7.
Are you familiar with where they are located?
I don't know where all of them are. I read your paper. You asked.
Yep, we have 7 parks, and many people in the community are not aware of that. They're just familiar with the parks that we have on this side of town: Foundation, Municipal, and Car Park, which is right behind our city hall and police building. We have 4 on they call it the west side of Pataskala. Okay, you have Freedom Park, Liberty Park, Citizens Park, and now we also have Leeds Center. If you guys are familiar with Leeds, it's been renamed Volunteer Park. So we have a total of 7 in our community. Did you know, I'll go through a couple of these, that the average age group in Pataskala is less than 40. So what does that tell you?
I'm old.
It doesn't tell you that you're old, okay?
Young and active.
You're young and active, and we have a young community, okay? We also have an older adult population that are still in Pataskala, but the majority of the residents inside of Pataskala are less than 40 years old, okay? So we have to find ways to be able to appeal to every demographic, okay? People think Parks and Recreation normally just gears towards youth, okay? That's not how we would like to continue to grow. We want to be able to offer programming for everybody. Did you know that the current employee of the park system is me? Okay, we have 2 seasonal employees that are maintenance, okay? But otherwise, administratively, it is all me and the Parks Advisory Board. Okay, so in the Parks Advisory Board, they are unpaid positions. Okay, so the many things that we would like to offer for you, we're very limited on things that we can do. Okay? How are we funded? You guys familiar with how we are funded? I know it's in the PowerPoint, we are not, but, okay. Recreational programming, okay. We are, our soccer program, I can say we are self-funded based on that. We do get a little bit from grants, okay. I wrote a grant last year, we actually received that grant for Liberty Park. Liberty Park next year will receive a nice update with a nice walking path around the open area, and also a shelter house, and also an increased parking lot. Okay, so that's one way and one avenue that we can receive money, but that's not a permanent thing. We're not guaranteed grants every year, okay? Do you guys know that you've been paying into a park, a park district already? Are you guys familiar with where that park district is located? Okay, Infirmary Mound, okay, or the Licking Park District, okay, that's our county park system. We've been paying into the park system since 2012, okay, so a lot of people get confused when they see it on their the yearly bill, their property tax bill, they see parks, okay? That's not our parks, okay? You can say that are our parks because they're county parks, but majority of the programming that are offered through the county are free of charge, of course. Okay? A lot of those trails that are Infirmary Mound, they have a dog park, and a bunch of other things that are there for county residents to take advantage of, okay? I definitely want to educate you guys on that one, okay? Survey results, okay? We've put out a few surveys over the last few years. This past year was our best survey. Okay, we did one in April of this past year, and I'm gonna go through a few of those questions. What is your overall opinion of the Pataskala parks and playgrounds? Anybody want to chime in and tell me what your thoughts are verbally? No opinion? Poor?
You have an opinion?
Very good? Fair? Anybody wanna chime in and tell me your thought?
Very good.
You think very good? Okay. Am I allowed to disagree with her?
I think they're a good start, but I think they're lacking continuing updates.
Exactly. So I will call them fair, just like everybody else basically stated, I will consider them fair, okay? Since 2012, maybe before that, the city did not fund the Parks Department. So a lot of our PRA, Pataskala Recreation Association, came on board, and they did a lot of the maintenance of what they could from a volunteer standpoint. And they also ran the youth soccer and also the adult softball programs. Okay, so Pataskala Recreation Association did a lot of things for the community over the last 10 years, and then now the city has it back, and we're really trying to bring our parks back into that very good standing. So it's gonna take a little bit of time with our resources, but that's where we're trying to get to. What amenities and facilities would you prefer to see added to the Pataskala Park system? I'll read them. Dog park, nature play area, fitness trail, children's play equipment, and walking paths. Those are the top 5. There were probably a plethora of 20 to 30 amenities that were on the list, but I chose the top 5. Okay? Out of those there, dog park, nature play, fitness trail, children play equipment, and walking paths. Anybody have a preference? In the audience?
Yeah, the walking paths and updated ones.
Okay.
Question.
Yes, sir.
The number, I'm looking at that chart you're talking about, it's almost 400, the next one looks to be about 350. Is this the total number of replies to your survey?
Yes.
So in other words, I'm looking at whatever, 1,000
No.
replies to your survey?
This
total?
survey here was a total of 562.
Well,
I
then
think people could rank them.
They were able to rank them and click what they wanted based on this question.
I see.
Yeah.
And was this out over Facebook, this survey?
It's still on our website, so I'm gonna have everybody continue today. I'm gonna tell you where to go take the survey. It's still up now, on our webpage. Okay? Yep, still up. Next question, are the parks programs currently offered adequate, or is there a need for additional active programming such as sports, instructional programs, or more passive activities? As you can see from this, the majority votes that more active programming and additional passive amenities were a hot topic. Okay, do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
What amenities do you, or let's say, what programs would you guys want to see? Just based on, first thing that comes through your head. We have majority adults here, so of course I want to know what adult programs we have because we only have one adult program. So with majority of your adults, I'm expecting some of you to answer.
Pickleball.
Okay? That's a,
I know, more YMCA kind of thing, but.
I wouldn't say
maybe-
more YMCA, but yeah, they do have it.
Not this one,
Not,
not the.
give us
Pataskala
time.
one.
Something I've heard a lot of individuals say is softball, adult softball.
Already got it.
Volleyball.
Okay. Anything else?
Would you be amenable to the idea of, maybe rather than a league, to have like, kind of like a pickup game time or a meetup time where you wouldn't have to commit
Yeah.
necessarily, but,
Just come out and play. If you're
Come out and
available,
play.
you have time.
yeah,
Like an open gym, open court,
Yeah.
open
Yeah.
field,
yeah.
or whatever sport you wanted to do. Yeah,
Definitely
that's
like
a good
that idea. Definitely.
Volleyball?
Volleyball? Yep. We have one volleyball, we have one at Municipal. We're gonna end up making the one back here nicer. That's in Car Park. So we have 2 volleyball areas in the park system.
I would like a volleyball court not by a creek.
Not which would be this one behind us here.
Hey Lanier, I
Yes.
know they're expensive, but, there aren't really tennis courts.
Only tennis courts we have thus far that's in our community are at Licking Heights West and Walker's Memorial. But I do agree with you that tennis courts would be a good avenue, and amenity to have.
Are those
Okay.
open to the public?
I believe so. I would have hoped so, but
At least West is.
I
I know
believe,
West is for sure.
I believe they're open to the public as long as there's not an event on them. I think it's very similar to like the playgrounds at the schools, where
Okay.
they're open to the public as long as they're not getting used.
And the tennis courts can also be, used also for pickleball.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is
So it's kind of-
pickleball court the same size?
Smaller, it's like half.
Smaller.
No, but
So
you could
could you
take half of it
just two
and
paint-
make it,
Yeah, you just
Like
paint them
paint
over each
lines?
other.
Is it the same size net?
No.
it's a little lower.
Okay.
You guys writing that down?
I think certainly if you're appealing to the younger crowd, you said the average age is younger. I mean, certainly basketball courts.
Already got them.
You
But
got
we're refurbishing.
updated
I'm
ones,
updating
yeah.
them,
Why
so
don't
just,
you, why don't you do a quick rundown, since we have updated and are talking about updating others of what we've done?
okay.
Yes.
Speaking of basketball courts, we just finished adding new basketball systems to Volunteer Park. We also resurfaced that basketball system, that basketball court. We have
Volunteer Park's over at the Lead Center.
Mink and Adams Lane. Mink and Adams Lane. We have updated the Freedom Park location. We put flagpoles, some Eagle Scouts, did a few projects there for us. So we are beautifying that park as well, since that's on the west side. We have completed and started projects over at Foundation and Municipal. So we're trying to work on our baseball fields, our softball fields. We're trying to make sure that they are up to date and making sure that other organizations can utilize them. Okay. Anything I'm missing so far besides our maintenance that we're doing overall? Current programs, like I said,
Can I offer a comment too? You have adult softball, and I think that's great,
yep,
but let me also throw in, there's a certain age group, when you get older than that you really can't participate in adult softball anymore.
okay,
Yeah, I don't think you have any senior softball programs, and I'm not suggesting that you need to establish one, but I wanna make you aware, yeah, adult softball is great,
Yeah.
but there's limitations there too on participation.
yep. And I totally agree with you. And I'm glad majority of my audience is 40 plus. We started the movement this past year. The movement is basically our community health initiative, and we're really trying to work with the YMCA and also the Holy Wellness Center to offer affordable programming, outdoor fitness classes, some mental health courses, and also work with other health professionals in the community to offer their expertise to the community at basically free of charge. We're also trying to work with the county to bring some programs as well. And initially, you guys all mentioned walking paths. What other way is there to become healthy is to be able to have inviting parks to bring your families, to bring yourselves there to be able to exercise. The next thing that we currently have, which was very successful, we partnered with the Licking County Master Gardener Volunteers. Phil Metzler, who is that Master Gardener volunteer, the Master Gardener, he is running that class again next January, starting in January. It was very successful at the Pataska United Methodist Church, so we're gonna run that veggie series again, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, so we're gonna continue that program.
Is that just taught in January?
No, January through June. It'll be a 6-month program. We may take it into the summertime. We're meeting next month to really mesh it out, but definitely January through June, one class a month. Right now, it's the first Saturday of each month. Current events we have had or held over the last 2 years. 2018, we had our first movie night series. We had one movie in this past year. We ran 2 movies. So we're gonna continue that, and every year we're going to try to push out at least 3, okay? I know next year we're gonna have one in May, one in June, and also one in July. So we'll run a full summer series of movies, and we give the residents the choice to pick those movies. So that'll be coming probably December, around that time, okay? The next thing we have on their current events are Kiss of the Park Day. Good thing about this day, we held 2 separate events this past year. The YMCA runs their Healthy Kids Day every year, but we also piggyback and also had a Kiss of the Park Day, which is a national Kiss of the Park Day, which is more so inviting for the whole family. So this next year, we're going to combine that event, best utilize all of our resources to make that day basically a good day for all families and kids to come out, enjoy their time, eat, play games, finish the night with a movie. So be on the lookout for that information, and that will be a program that will be, or event that will be yearly. Future programming, okay? The municipal pool, okay? The past 8 years, 9 years, Pataska Recreation Association has, I guess, managed the pool, okay? That will be no longer for 2020. Pending how the rest of the year goes, the municipal pool will come back into the city's hands starting in January. Okay, so it will be a city-ran pool. We'll still keep the Pataska Porpoises, which is the swim team. And this past year, they had 215 swimmers. Okay, 215 swimmers. That's quite a bit, and that's Pataskala, that's Johnstown, that's local area, but 215 is a lot. Archery. This past year, we also had a outdoor recreation day, and at that outdoor recreation day, we had trail walk or trail run for the kids. We also had archery. So we're trying to bring in some archery again next year, hoping to have some archery tag, bring in archery professionals to be able to create their own bows and have an archery presence in our parks. Arts and craft workshops, we're trying to work with other professionals to be able to host workshops for the community. That way we can appeal to every demographic at that point. Destination trip opportunities. This one here, I'm meeting with someone tomorrow regarding this. How many of you guys like going on trips? If you can afford the trip? Next year, that will be an option. There will be an option for you to sign up for a trip. Everything's all inclusive. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't cost us anything to do. It's just gonna be open to the community. You wanna take the family on a 5-day vacation, we're gonna have the options for you. Okay? Summer Ninja Camp and the Summer Sports Camp. These 2 here are new for next year, and I'm hoping to bring this group back. Valley Sports Group, they're going to run 2 different camps for us, and also a T-ball, softball mini camp. So each of those programs there, the Ninja Camp and the sports camps, will not be on this side of town. It will be at Freedom Park on the west side of town. Okay? Jersey Baptist Church typically runs a free sports camp the first week of June at Foundation Park. I mean, that's been standard for the last 3 years. So that's free. Be on the lookout for that information. And the esports. Are you guys familiar with esports? E-games. Are you guys familiar with that? Probably not. But this is a very lucrative thing right now. And when I think of Parks and Recreation, we have to think about inclusivity. Okay, how do we make everyone in our community able to participate in our programs? Okay, there's a lot of teenagers, there are a lot of kids nowadays that don't play sports, and right now we only have sports. Okay, or they're playing football, they're playing other things, or they're not doing those. Next year, I'm hoping to be able to work with another organization and bring in some esports recreation. That's not a set in stone thing, but that's definitely an avenue that we would like to dive into, is being able to offer non-traditional programming in Parks and Recreation, and be able to offer it to everybody. And the next one that I like is kickball. Okay, I know he just said, hey, us old guys can't play kickball, but I'm thinking family oriented. How can we bring our families together to go to the park? All right, let's have a kickball tournament. Let's have a dodgeball tournament. There's a lot of things that are up in the air that are, we're an open book right now. We're starting from scratch, and we need the community to be able to offer what you need. okay? How is our parks funded? I went on this one real quick, but I'll tie in on one that I did not touch on. New home builds, okay? Every new home that is built in the city of Pataskala, the Parks Department receives $500, okay? We receive $500 and that goes to our park use fund, which generally goes just towards capital improvements, okay? And we do some type of capital improvement every year. That pot doesn't continue to we don't get the same amount of money every year, okay? We can get $30,000, we can get $15,000, but it all depends, and that pot is not permanent, okay? This past year, to give out free fishing poles at our outdoor rec day, we applied for a Rotten Reels grant through ODNR, and we were able to receive roughly 240 fishing poles, and we gave them all out, okay? We gave them all out. Big ups to my volunteer back there. Gave them all out. So that was a huge event that we will have again next year in June. So we will do that event again, pending we get the grant. And also,
Also stocked
we stocked the ponds as well.
the pond.
So we're also wanting to make sure that if you fished when you were younger, you got grandkids, or if you have kids now, take them to the ponds, fish,
We took
Spent-
advantage of that.
spend your quality time. Nice. Back on the ODNR Nature Works grant, the park that's behind us, it's been here since 1989. William V. Carr Park donated the property to us. We currently have 2 shelters back there, a small walking path. You can see it as one of your concepts in there. And it can be updated. So we applied for a grant to do some updates to this park, and I'm hoping by December we will have information whether we got a portion of the grant or all of the grant. So the park behind us will receive a good update, and I'm trying to gear this park towards our older adults, to be honest. We have the retirement home in the Kenai Village right next to us here, and I'm really trying to gear it to where, hey, they can walk over, they can walk the path, trying to put a small little fitness area in the back that they can walk on, get some exercise, and also working with the Master Gardener volunteers and the Licking County Soil and Water District to put in demonstration gardens. And those demonstration gardens would be pollinator gardens, butterfly, monarch gardens, whatever they might be. But we're really trying to make sure that this park behind us is beautified to where it's inviting for rentals and also inviting for our older adults who are next door. And anybody in the community can come in and say, hey, Carr Park's probably more suited for me. Okay? How do we raise the bar? Okay? This question here I've been hearing for the last year now. How do you raise the bar? How do we raise the bar in our community? I think a big portion of raising the bar in our community comes from our partnerships and how do we collaborate with others in the community. Being able to collaborate and create partnerships and receive sponsorships from local businesses, especially for our soccer program. Last year, starting in July, we started the local sponsorship for our soccer program, and we have received roughly $13,000 in sponsorships since then. Okay, and that helps pay for, that sponsors their uniforms, that helps pay for some of our maintenance as well in the park, our turf management, and some of our events as well. So local sponsorships help and guide us into a direction where, we have the same vision. You like this program, you like this event, how do we work together to make it happen? School district partnerships are huge for me. I'm really trying to work with our school districts. I believe, like you said, we have nothing to do for our teenagers. We have nothing to do for our kids after school, in the summertime. Being Parks and Recreation, we're here to serve. So how do we find that avenue to be able to partner together, to be able to serve the community, being able to offer out after-school programming, summer programming, any type of camp. I believe those are the avenues that we're trying to reach. But community service groups have been big for us as well. Like I said, Pataskala Recreation Association, they're still around. They're not going to be in the same capacity that they have been, but they have been great to our community, offering a lot of volunteers for a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of projects. But we're always open to community service groups to be able to do projects, and that includes Eagle Scouts and Girl Scouts. Last month, we had a Girl Scout come in, and she wanted to work on her brown badge or something like that. I think it was
Bronze award.
Huh?
Bronze award.
Bronze award, there we go. and she wanted to work on geocaching. You guys familiar with geocaching? Okay. So we approved it, and she did that because she wanted to tap into an area where, hey, we have a lot of kids who are techie nowadays. How do we bring them to the park? It fit our vision, it fit our mission on bringing kids and adults into the park as a family. And now there are 2 geocaches in the park. Okay, you have to download the application to be able to go find them. But you know, working with other groups who share the same vision and mission as the parks and also the city are going to take us to the next step. Only thing I want to touch on this one here is 73% of the adults believe parks, trails, and open space are an essential part of the healthcare system. My background is in healthcare, okay, and then I come into parks and recreation. Okay, but I think they're still cohesively together, just because there are 3 things that Parks and Recreation, at least the National Parks and Recreation Association, go by. They're health and wellness, social equity, and conservation. Okay. Currently, we have 137 acres of parkland. Okay. Programming wise, we do not serve every community, so how do we get to that social equity? And also, with working with the YMCA, with other healthcare professionals, how do we begin to make our community healthy? Okay, you guys touched on one. Walking paths is huge. How do we make our parks accessible to everyone to be able to benefit from them from a health standpoint? That's physically and mentally. Okay. And this is my contact information. I also have cards over there. But he mentioned the survey earlier. If you jump on PataskalaParksandRecreation.com, you can't miss it. It's the very first thing that you see. It's a survey. Go ahead and fill it out. Share with your family and friends if they live in the community to fill it out as well. This is going to be an ongoing survey, so we're going to continue to update real time. The more and more residents that we have fill the survey out, the better. 3 questions. Who has one?
How do you find out all this? I stopped by last week and upstairs, and that's how I found out about this meeting tonight. I have no idea about any of this. Where do you find it? Pataskala Standard? I don't subscribe to it.
Well, got it in too late for the Standard, because it's only every Thursday.
But I don't subscribe anyway, but where do you find this information? I have no idea anything like this.
Right now, we're on Facebook. We try to put it on our Facebook page. I did a lot of walking around at soccer games this past weekend, and I also walked the neighborhood. But that's one of our crutches now, is how do we get our information out? Not everyone is looking on social media, and not everyone looks at the newspaper. So having you here, what's your best avenue for communication?
There isn't any. That's my point. I don't know how to get information.
I have
Well-
a question. If you received a flyer in the mail that gave you information about what the City of Pataskala Parks Department was doing, would that be helpful to you? A mailing is very expensive for the city, so we've been kind of approaching that with kind of kid gloves because it's so expensive, and we want to make sure that we get the most information out for our money. And when Lanier and his part-time employees during the summertime, I can't see everybody's backgrounds, when Lanier and his part-time employees during the summertime are really just given a little tiny budget to go a long way in all of the parks, and like you said, they need updated. There's some things that we identify that need to be fixed, and the city can't afford to get them fixed. It's hard to justify a mailing. So, I mean, if something like that would be really helpful, it's really, really important. One of the messages that's super, super important is that we totally believe in that if we improve our parks, we're going to improve your neighborhoods because people are going to want to come. When you drive into a city and they have a nice park, that makes that city more inviting. That increases your property value. And so these are all real statistics that Lanier was talking about. But the problem is we aren't really, the funding sources that he listed, that's all there is. We are lucky, very lucky, to get whatever city council decides to peel off for a minimum operating budget. We don't really have much, and the only way that, like, when PRA ran it, was lots and lots of volunteers. I was one of those volunteers, and that's how I got.
So was I.
Well,
I
yes.
I helped mow for a while,
Right.
yeah.
Brian helped out,
Yep.
but, sorry Linear, I just kinda jumped in there, but
All right.
one of the, I think, some of the information about getting out it's super important. We had it on for a tax levy, and I know this is a bad word, right, tax levy, but, we're trying to figure out how we can do more with less, and we get to the end of the rope. Linear's getting grants, and he's been successful at that, so we're trying to put that stuff into something that the public can see, something that you can use. Upgrading, there's, one of the flyers has some upgrade to some playground equipment that's desperately needed over on the soccer side at Foundation. So, information is power, and if you have the information, you know, you can spread it, and, sorry, I'll sit down. Does anybody have any other questions? Go ahead, sir.
In reply to your question, as far as a mailer, why don't you start up an email newsletter, a monthly one or whatever is convenient, and get a mailing list of those people interested in getting this email. It won't cost you anything. It's putting together an email newsletter to get this kind of information out. I'll have to tell you, I'm a 25-year resident over here, right next to Foundation Park, and I have no idea what's going on there. I got a lot of criticism for you for that trail, that wood chip trail that you got going around there,
Yeah,
but
really.
I don't even
Yeah,
have anybody
same.
to tell it to.
Yeah,
But I think an email newsletter would do you a lot of good in getting information out.
next year, that's gonna happen. We're gonna have a new software, which is going to allow for you as residents to jump into this software, and we'll be able to have all of your data, which will make it easier for myself, and hopefully my budget gets approved, and I'll have help to be able to have that monthly newsletter. That's a big thing, you know. I'm only one person, and as much as I wanna do, I can't do it. But I totally get it, cause I'm frustrated too. I've been living in Pataskala for 20 years, and I didn't know half the things going on in Pataskala. But as we move forward, that's our avenue. We're really trying to get as much information out as possible. That way we're not spending $20,000 every year on mailings. So e-newsletter, it'll come.
You can put this on there, it won't cost a dime.
Yep.
You know, you've done it already, all you gotta do is click and it's
Post it on
gone.
there. Will do. You got it, boss.
A lot of people look at bulletin boards saying Kroger or Buster's or Nutcracker, the library.
Yeah.
Here at the city building.
Kroger won't let us, those corporate buildings won't let you, they only put them in the bathrooms. So I've done my legwork on that one.
Is that right?
Yeah. Library, definitely, working with Jeff a little bit, we can do
Buster's
that.
and Nutcracker maybe?
Nutcracker, they let us put it on the glass, yeah.
Can
Or you
you,
get like Ziggy's. I mean, there's a lot of people that come in and out of there after sporting events.
Yeah.
with the mailers, is it possible to piggyback off the water bill, sending
No.
stuff through there?
Already tried.
You could, if
They contract that out. They don't, we don't, they only have 3 employees, so they don't sit there and stuff 5,000.
All right.
They contract that out.
if you're actually gonna create like flyers, now, which obviously is a cost.
Yeah.
You can submit to the kids, I mean, I know that's not your older population, but you can send things home with kids through the schools.
This
if you
past
don't-
year, I did that with
Okay,
Peach
that's what I
Jar.
was gonna say, you can
Yeah.
always do that at Southwest Licking
Yeah.
schools. So
Yeah.
I don't know about Heights, but I know you can do it at Southwest.
Has to be approved by the superintendent
Right.
first, but
But you
that's
can do-
definitely an
you
avenue
can
that
do
we've
that.
been
I know that
using.
you can do it with Southwest Licking, so.
Churches as well, yep,
How about a lock bulletin board at the entrances of one of the parks?
have to buy them, but that's on our budget for next year. So I'm ahead of the game. We're definitely, half the things you are mentioning now are things that we have talked about this past year on how we're gonna improve, so that's good. You guys are bringing up everything that we've already thought about. One last question.
It's not gonna be loud. I miss that big hickory tree by the playground.
I do too.
Yeah.
It's always
Big,
nice to have a little
big.
shade, but.
Anybody else?
I'm just thinking of the shade with the walking paths, this would be nice too.
Because this is, mine, I don't know that this is a question, but just a statement, I guess as you're redoing things, just making, and I know that this isn't a cost in budget, but just disability access, as far as your walking paths, your kids, and just the disability accessibility
Yeah.
for everything, just making sure you're.
So as we do our parks improvements, if we're able to do our park improvements, especially for Liberty Park, which this is gonna be completed next year, it's required when we do any type of new construction that it is ADA compliant, that it is required. We can't just scab it together and say, hey, here you go. So as we move forward, our overall goal is to be able to make sure that our parks are ADA compliant for the remainder, and then we'll start adding more and more things.
One more question. There
Yes.
are no bike trails at all in any of our parks here in Patapsco, correct?
No bike trails. The municipal park, you can bike on the path over there, which goes through Bright Waters, through town, through, is it Creek Road, Township Road. You can go that way, but technically no bike trails.
So the closest one is in Granville, Wildwood?
Yeah. Yeah, Johnstown, it connects to that one as well. Yeah, that would be your closest one. Grab a map over there. You haven't already. That'll have it, boom. Outside of that, I really want you guys to be able to look at the concepts and also the concepts that are in your hand. I have two white sticky notes. This one over here says park amenities. So a lot of the things you guys are mentioning to me, write them down. And this one here says program interest. So we want to hear from you, want to see what you have, and we'll be able to compile those and start creating some data points there and as we move forward. But I am happy you all came today, and I'll be around until the last person leaves, so.
Do you have any
Ask questions.
documentation on, like, funding around this stuff?
Say that again?
Do you have any documentation or figures or estimates or anything about funding for, you know, what your plans are, what your hopes are?
The
Yeah,
one that's in
between-
your hand right there, the Foundation Park update,
Yeah,
that's a $20,000 update. The playground's gonna stay there, but to add to it is gonna be $20,000, okay? This park here, this is the bids came back, but this is definitely a $90,000 project. The car park project that's in your hand, I submitted the grant for $86,000, but that's probably the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. Foundation Park, we didn't do a cost estimate on that one, just because it's not 100% yet, not final.
sure.
And Citizens Park there's not a cost estimate on that one either.
Those are just conceptual.
Yeah, these are considered.
Sure.
You know, we sat down and we said, hey, you know, what would we like to see in the parks? What would updated parks look like? And just to create some imagery to post because everybody's, you know, a lot of people are visual. Like, you just can't describe, hey, let's make improvements. Hey, this is a potential improvement or a group of improvements to parks. Does it create a buzz? Does it create conversation? You know, does this go there? Does it not? So these were kind of pulled together just to say, because a lot of our parks, especially on the west side, are where the developer maybe put in a little gravel lot, your, you know, developer style playground set, and hand over city and said, here you go. And they're undeveloped, where there could be more programming, there could be just more accessible open space just for random whatever. You know, we do actually have a good amount of pavilions in our parks, but there could always be, you know, more. So some of this was just created just to create conversation.
So the concepts that you see, a lot of this was kind of born out of the city's master plan. They hired a firm to develop a master plan for the city. They're still finalizing that master plan, but the parks kind of we got part of that master plan, and so they created some of these concepts for us. As the park board, we have input to what how far we go with these concepts and if we're willing to accept all or most of that, or none of that. But we really would like input from the community on what they'd like to see.
Good.
Kind of to your point about the master plan, I've only been in Pataskala for a year, and I've heard that some of them were developed, or put in place by developers, somebody donated land. Is there any comprehensive view of all the different parks and what they do that's different than others? And should you build on one versus the other, or do you need all of them? I don't have any insight to any of that. I'm just kind of curious.
Well, those are all really good questions. So for a while, when I first was more aware of what's going on, I live on the west side. I live on the west side of Mink Street on Hughes Corner Road. And if you live on the west side, you feel like you're not really included in the city of Pataskala. And it wasn't until, I lived there since 1992. It wasn't until they put the tot lot in at Freedom Park. Well, the city actually did something, and there's a nice playground out there at Freedom Park. And so they put shelter, and so we, as I was exposed to the park board and have been part of the park board, I think it's been important. One of those views is we want to make sure that the city of Pataskala is not the city of Pataskala and Watkins High School in Southwest Licking, because that's what it was for a long time. It's really, we have two high schools. It's not the east side and the west side, it's the whole city. So we're trying, what we're looking at is, we have some communities that, on the west side that have actually reached out to us. And we wanted to have a presence of the city is doing something for the west side as well, because, Municipal Park, you mentioned the creek. Okay, Municipal Park's got the pool, and there's a lot of things always going on down there. But and Foundation Park, well, that's centrally located, and it's soccer city and softball. But some of the other parks have some other things going on too. But as far as the park's identity, they don't all have an identity yet, and that's really the direction we're headed. Is to say, okay, like Foundation Park, that's really where we want to. That's already our soccer park. That's where a lot of sports already are. So let's keep that going theme with that park, and maybe not put another soccer field in another park where we could put another tot lot or have some other amenity in that the community has said that they wanted, or maybe that we've seen other communities work well. So all of those park identities haven't really been identified yet. Does that help?
It kind of answers where I was looking at for, what was the plans for each of them, and is there an identity for them in essence, so.
Our main
Looks like
priority
you're
now
looking
is
for it.
making sure that our parks can be visited by every demographic. How can we make them ADA compliant? How do we make those parks inviting? We have a vision, I have a vision, that especially when I grew up in parks, in the north side of Columbus, and we had a community park, which was basically a family park that was put in there in like the early 1900s, and we also had Douglas, which was a Columbus Parks and Recreation Park, just down the street. So we always had parks that were always inviting. We always had family, friends, people from outside the area came to have picnics, came to play basketball. Every Sunday, every evening, didn't have anything going. There were always people at the park. Right now, do I see that? No. I do not, and I'm curious why. But I know there's nothing in bringing them to the park, but it shouldn't have to be that way. Why do we want to be able to say, hey, we have this open space for you, your family, hey, you want to take 30 minutes to go let the kids go run around for a little bit before bedtime? let them go do it. You wanna go walk at the same time? Let's go walk. So we wanna make sure those parks are inviting, that way the families are able to enjoy them together, and not just come to the park just to have a soccer game, not just for an event. We wanna see you in the park every day. And the only park that has that now is Municipal Park. I can go to Municipal Park. I was there yesterday at 2:30 working. There were probably 6 kids on the playground and a few sets of parents, okay? And that's somewhat during school hours or right after school. Go to Foundation Park, zilch, okay? You'll find ones there walking their dog, going on the trail, but you're not seeing the families out there like you would on a Saturday morning. So to answer your question, we're trying to focus on making our parks inviting, updating them one by one, the ones that really need them, and continue to update them as we go and make sure that our parks are up to standard.
So I'm assuming you have usage stats for each of them.
Not yet. But based on me working in the park, that's, visual eye, I'm not going out with my clicker at the moment, but
Yeah, no, I wasn't looking for something specific like that, just again, trying to focus to where's the greatest need and putting attention and focus there.
West Side. West side of town.
Without, trying to be all things to all people.
Well,
West side of
that's
town.
also why we're trying to do the surveys, just try to reach as many people with the surveys, just to get, a feel for who utilizes the parks and what could you utilize as funding allows.
Do you communicate with other cities and what's working for them?
Yep, Reynoldsburg. It would work for us if we had the funding for personnel. That's a crutch for us at the
But I get
moment.
Reynoldsburg, but what about these smaller cities?
Whitehall. I've met with
Still
Whitehall quite a
Columbus
bit.
area.
Yeah.
Look at like Johnstown, Mount Vernon. I'm
Alexandria,
from Mount Vernon. Their park system is insane, and I get they have a corporate sponsor that helps with some of it.
Mhm.
But it's still, from when I was growing up, the parks that we had for a small town was pretty excessive.
But at some point it has to be funded.
I get that, but what we're saying is reach out to their parks department, ask for assistance. Where do you come up with your funding? Can you give us insight on what we can do to improve as a city, to make our systems become what you have?
Yep.
And what are you doing to sell it to your residents in your, what are you doing to get people to pass levies in your town that's not working for us? I mean, just collaborate, I guess, is what I'm saying. I came from West Virginia. She's been down there. Our park systems are phenomenal, to put it mildly. I'd love to see more. I think the big message that I've seen from your group today, I love hearing about trying to find new ways to disseminate this. You get a lot of deer in the headlight looks on social media when you start asking for a levy, and I heard somebody else back here say that they have no clue what's going on right beside them. We've got to find better avenues to sell it to your citizens. We don't know about it until it's being asked for the money, and then we're like, hold on, slow the brakes here a little bit. What are you even talking about? I'm on your little group that you created on Facebook, but that gets clouded with all the other personal groups and other things there, and it doesn't always get seen.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment on the walking trail. I live in the old neighborhood by Foundation Park, and I and several of my neighbors go walking. We mainly walk in the settlement because there's sidewalks there, a solid place to walk. That trail that you have wood chips around the exterior of Foundation Park.
Yeah.
The only way I found out about this meeting taking place was I stopped in here last week to ask when the tree that was crossing the trail, blocking the trail by the softball diamonds, when that was gonna be removed, because it was there all summer long. And I found out that afternoon when I went for a walk along there, he finally removed it.
It was moved the
First
week
time all
before.
summer that I've been able to walk all the way around there. My neighbors walk the streets in Settlement because you cannot walk that wood chip trail around there. That is crazy to try to expect people to walk that. The wood chips absorb the water. Anytime there's any rain, you're gonna walk in water, especially in the low areas.
Yep.
A lot of the wood chips are washed out, which is good, then you can walk on the trail. But that is not a good base for a walking trail. If there was a solid, either gravel or asphalt track around there, you would be surprised the number of us older residents that would be out there walking it all the time.
I couldn't agree more.
That's something we've talked
Something
about.
we've been talking about
And,
the
you know,
last 2
there's-
years.
There's some major drainage issues around there too.
Yeah, cause
that-
it ends up in my backyard.
Right, that, I mean, the drainage issues, to solve those, that's gonna be a lot of money to put in tile and to run the water in an appropriate place. That's gonna be more money, because there's
The
really
one
nowhere to
problem
run
that
it.
I found with the wood chip trail, there is a drain back there, cause it's in my backyard.
Yeah.
And the problem is all those wood chips clog the,
Yeah, just
the
clog it up.
drain.
Yeah,
Now, we go back there when we can to try to clean it out to let the water drain, but there's been water up past my knees because those wood chips just clog the drain and the water can't get out.
A lot of your concerns we already have, and we're trying to take the necessary steps to accommodate those concerns.
and a lot of it is we're going from a parks department that really didn't have a full-time employee or employee system to now we do have employees in the park systems, and we do have, the city is taking over the park systems and funding, and now that our full-time employees are here, we're kinda catching up to the maintenance that has been lacked on for so many
There was
years.
10 years of what was called deferred maintenance, where, you know, if a building needed a roof because there was a hole in it, the building got a roof even if it wasn't being used. You know, very minimal kind of stuff. There were some restroom renovations this year as well that Lanier did, just because they needed updated because they had sat
We're falling
in
apart.
pretty sad condition for over 10 years. While the PRA could only do what they could because they really had no full-time staff. It was mainly funding from the soccer to run soccer and kind of keep the parks as open as possible with volunteer mowing, volunteer maintenance, and that only goes so far, and that well dries up pretty quick especially when it was a decade where volunteers did
One
the
year,
lion's share of work in the park. So it's only been Lanier's been on board now for
a
a year and a half, right? So before that there was another part-time parks manager.
it was administrator pretty much.
Mainly it was administrator, just kind of making sure soccer was running for PRA as well. So it's been there's gonna be a lot of things to overcome to get things to where they should be, and
Main reason we have you all here.
yes.
Yeah, we're trying to get your input and
One of the biggest education pieces, and I didn't know this until I started volunteering in the parks actually with soccer, was I've realized that the Licking County Park District, where we pay taxes for that none of those taxes come to the city parks area. So we live in the city and we pay a tax that goes to Licking County Park District. But that park district is not part of the city. Now, Lanier, recently, I know, and I just kinda cringed, I'm like, you've gotta be kidding. It's just like when I found out about the Pataskala Library doesn't service the west side. Because the west side pays taxes to Licking County, not to the city of Pataskala for a library. Anyway, that's a different topic, sorry. But I was very frustrated that I didn't know. And I think the majority of the public does not understand that we, the city of Pataskala, get none of that money that goes to the Licking County Park District. And the taxes that you pay go to the city general fund. It's up to city council to decide, based on emergency need or basic needs or less than basic needs, or what happened, what did we do last year, and how much they divvy out to the park department. The Parks Department competes with the roads, utilities, and any other thing that you can see that the city is doing. The Parks Department competes for that money, and a lot of times we're last on the list. So, and I know Lanier didn't say that, but I will say that.
Jude?
And it's education for the whole public, so.
But it's not like any other city is getting county park money, right?
No,
Within the county,
they offer programming for the county.
okay.
We are all there, we're
Correct.
able to utilize
That
those
is
programs for
correct.
the county. Jude?
I have a completely different view of all of this than, I guess, everyone in this room. I think our parks are awesome. Me and my kids go there all the time. Now granted, what we did when they were 4, 5, and 6, and I'm not making up those ages, there's 3 of them, they're a year apart each. Now they are 17, 18, and 19 just turned 20. But I think our parks are great. Could they be better? Sure. But if you're talking about setting up a youth softball team, I don't need that. But you're never gonna get everything that every single person wants. I think our parks are awesome. When I wanna know something about our parks, I call Lanier on his cell, at his office, I send him an email, and I keep calling him until he calls me back. And then I say, what can I do? What did I ask you about tonight's meeting? What can I do for tonight?
Yep.
I will be there. What can I do? I see a lot of stuff for Eagle Scouts here. Line them up, and I'll bring them into you. Let me know what projects you want. This stuff is great. I think our parks are amazing. Are they different than Gahanna's parks? Sure. That's why Gahanna's Gahanna and we're Pataskala. Are they different than Johnstown? Absolutely, and they should be. I think our parks are amazing. Freedom Park is our park. So I must live right by you. I live on Havens Corners on the west side. I've never felt left out. I love our park. We go to Freedom Park, that's our park. When there's the fireworks, we go to Foundation Park. One of my sons did an Eagle project, a graveyard just down the road from Foundation Park, and another one on Havens Corner.
That was fabulous, by the way.
He's in the Navy now, nuclear engineering program, 2 rank bumps for being an Eagle. So when we want something in the park, first thing we do, we call Lanier. I got an Eagle, he wants to build this, can I send him to you? And after Lanier's done with him, he sends him back to me, so that I can tell him how to raise funds, or we can figure out funds together. If you want something in these parks, call Lanier, send him an email. You know, this meeting, I think I saw it on the Pataskala thing, but how often do I talk to you? Probably once a week? Pester you? And if I need this, I want this, we'll go to any park. We don't care if there's a playground, we don't care if there's a whatever. Mulch path, I work at Mulch Manufacturing, that wood chip path sounds beautiful. I think it sounds like the nicest thing in the whole wide world. I hope those wood chips came from Mulch Manufacturing.
You can have it.
Live beside it, please.
Yeah. But you still bought that house there. I mean, you bought the house.
We bought the
there.
house prior to the path being put in.
Right, for whatever reason you bought the house, but I think our parks are great. If they're gonna be greater, I'll take them. I love them. As your kids age or as you age, you need or want different things. I don't want any kind of organized group. I go to the park when the organized groups aren't there. So,
Question I have on volunteering, and the flyer that I saw that brought me here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Said, are you interested in volunteering? What do you have, what are you looking for? What do you
Park
need?
cleanups, we
Is
have
there a
events.
sign-up sheet or what?
The website, I've had up there, PataskalaParksandRecreation.com. There's a tab that says volunteer. You click that tab, click what you would like to do, it sends me an email, and I reach out to you when I need you
Okay.
for park projects.
Lanier, could I have about 2.5 minutes?
Yes.
I'm Richard Wall with the Licking Park District.
Yay!
This is an awesome meeting, and I'm the interim director there. So Licking Park District is about 10 years ahead of what you're doing right now. We have 1,600 acres and 12+ sites, 46 miles of bike paths, and we had $50,000 a year from the county commissioners to run our 1,600 acres. We had these exact types of meetings, and what we did is what you're doing right now. We had 2 5-year strategic plans, and that's how we passed our levy, by saying, if you want this and it's 90,000, this is 20,000, this is 25,000, you have to have a plan. You got to convince council to come up with some money to put the plan together, and they've got a good start here, but that's how you sell it to the public. And So we offer, and I've had multiple conversations and visits with BJ, King, and Lanier about how we can collaboratively partner with Pataskala. Actually, I sent an email out to the county prosecutor who serves as our law director that Brian Zetz does for your city. And I've asked, can we, as the park district, spend money on parks that are owned by the city of Pataskala inside your corp limit? So I haven't heard back from our representative there. But we've talked about dog parks and walking paths. And, you know, wood chips are good, wood chips aren't good. Pavement is much better with the proper drainage. And you can sell that, you can get money. We work hard to get our grants and so forth in order to make our funding work. So we haven't forgot about the city of Pataskala, and so we're working hard to provide programming. And when we met, the initial formal meeting, it is infrastructure and programming. And we have been out to Car Park with some paddle sports and so forth. We do birding. We do all kind of programming. We had 900 kids at our park. And the Licking Park District is not, it doesn't exclude Pataskala. It took me about 17 or 18 minutes to get here, so, and that's at Infirmary Mound, and there's a lot of stuff going on over there. And I think we probably have our monthly programming in your hallway out here. It is awesome, but we spend an ungodly amount of money to get flyers that go out. Email is the way to get the original one. And you gotta do it in an easy manner. But you've got one guy, and it sounds so easy because I did 800 kids at Hoback Park, and just to write a weekly deal through the summer, it's a lot of work, and then you gotta take care of all the other. So you've got a good thing going, you're moving in the right direction. We, the Licking Park District, want to collaborate with you and to help make it better here, and to understand that you have opportunities outside of, the bike paths are just awesome. 46 miles of bike paths, and we have all kind of issues that we have to deal with, and paving and those sorts of things, but you're going the right direction. And we're there to assist you in any way that we can, and we want to do that. So, Lanier's got my contact information, so if there's any other questions, I'll be around after the meeting. And I don't want to butt in too much, because this is a good deal, what you're doing. This is the only way that you're going to move forward, is by getting good input. 562 responses, that's pretty big. That's a lot of responses on your survey, so that now you just have to listen, and you get those 562 people that you go out and talk to 3 other people, and that's how you're gonna get your levy passed. And that's about the only way you can do it, because I'm a former council member in Marion Heath, and you're not gonna get much from council, you already know that. So their budgets are tight also.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Mhm.
One other idea, and you've probably already thought of it, any possible internships from COTC or any of the other colleges in the area?
Internships, with internships, once again, I'm hoping next year we can have an internship, okay?
I might
That
help
is
with
my
your
goal, to be
newsletter
able
or
to
something like
acquire
that.
at least 1 to
Website.
2 interns to be able to help with programming, and also help with some of the administrative, marketing, communication type of things that we would like to do. But also remember, with interns, they're like an employee, okay? So you may have your other employee with specific duties, but with an intern, you have to keep them busy. You have to check on them on a consistent basis. You have to make sure that they are doing their job consistently, holding their right hand. Okay, so we don't have an internship program right now, but that is, I've been talking about it for a year. I'm hoping next year is that year. Okay. Anything else before I ship you guys to write some things down on this paper?
Thank you for holding this.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming
Yeah.
out. This is the most people we've had at a Parks Board meeting for
Since I've been here.
for many years.
Yeah, and we would invite you to come and look at the concepts that we have up here for the parks, those maps. So if you have any questions or anything, we'll be happy to go over any of those questions that you might have. Yes, ma'am?
I think it would be neat to know how everybody ended up here today. how did they find out about the meeting?
How did you guys find out about the meeting?
Yeah, that's a good
Facebook.
question. Facebook?
Say that again? How'd you guys find out?
Facebook.
Flyer at a soccer game.
You
Flyer
got
at soccer
flyer at
game.
City Hall.
I
Yep.
stopped to ask about why the
I didn't make it to I didn't make it to your side of the neighborhood, but I got probably 100 houses in the settlement last night, me and my boys, we walked it. So I am putting in work and effort to make sure that people are aware. Okay, so please know that it's happening.
Not only in Facebook, but in specific groups. I found out about it in Volunteers of Pataskala.
Boom.
I'm Carolyn.
Nice to put a face to it.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you as well.
Do you post in the City of Pataskala or their Facebook?
I posted on a couple different things.
Yeah.
I've shared it
We have a
online.
Pataskala Parks and Recreation Department too.
I don't know if I like.
I am not able to flood the City of Pataskala's page with good stuff. I consider my stuff good stuff, so, I'm not able to flood it, but I do try to post it on the Pataskala community, the Pataskala page, settlements page, any page that I actually group, try to post it on there. But, of course, we're not paying that extra dollar to make sure that it's seen on a consistent basis. It just goes in, and it's probably not looked at all.
Explore Licking County has a good website.
We're paying that too.
Yes. I know you do.
Yeah.
So if everybody could definitely leave their email addresses, then we start working on that email database.
Exactly. That's definitely a start.
Yeah. All right, so I think we'll do, we as a board, I think we'll go ahead and adjourn, but then feel free to stick around. We can talk, whatever. Post-it notes on the local concept, stuff like that. All in favor? Aye. All right, we're adjourned.
When did you say the email is anticipated, the first one be going out?
I don't know when, but I think I would like to start a database. Lanier was talking about waiting for the software to kick in, and I don't know why he would have to wait. Because honestly, all he has to do is just start collecting emails and blind copy everybody. Create a group.
Yeah, all you gotta do is get your group
Right.
of email addresses, everybody else, all of them already done. You know how much information is in there, and I didn't have any idea about everything in there.
Oh, right, absolutely,
Even
absolutely.
volunteering, no idea. You need lots of things.
Oh, my God. Oh,
I'm retired, I got time on my hands, granted, I go to Florida in the winter, but hey, I'm out here in the summer.
we'd love to open this summer.
Well, now that I know where to go look to see where to sign up, I can do it, but I have no idea. Appreciate it. Now I have another question.
Whichever way you wanna go.
You know my unhappiness with the,
Want me to get a picture of you?
yeah, that could be such a great trail if there was just a gravel or an asphalt. So what would it cost? And I'm sure you guys have checked that out.
Well,
Foundation Park to,
yeah, Foundation Park. You know what? I don't have any of those numbers in my head, but it was running. I want to say it was like a minimum of 50 grand just to. Or was it like 100?
I think because
This one over here.
75,000 just to gravel it. Yeah.
it was.
And then we know that back behind the wall diamonds, it's really wet. So we think that we're gonna get kind of bogged down in cost with drainage,
Yeah.
that we might move that trail so that it comes back up to the road and then back on the other side to avoid that corner.
Yeah.
So we can really fix fix the drainage.
Kind of get the mic on.
Yeah, it's a drainage
Because
right
it's-
there, and that,
It's
there's nowhere to run
follow
into
the
the
lane
property.
and
That field
Yeah.
is kind of the woods right behind it. It's
Yeah.
pretty much a swamp, and that actually just, part of that's sold. And then other part is a vacant land that has been there for years, not right across the street, so hasn't been there for years.
Yeah, but all you do is build it up.
Yeah, so we have a, yeah.
Family business.
Right, it'll get all trapped in there, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
There's so much potential.
Cool, that's good.
Probably 100 cows.
There you go.
Behind there,
It's mostly business.
right, right.
happen to have time on hand, stop in on the street.
There's a property place
Yeah.
Our daughter tried to.
That's their property.
Livestock.
There, they volunteered to look at the house,
That
that afternoon, I went
Yeah.
to walk, and it's out of there. It's road, I can walk.
Move on to the next
Yeah.
account.
Oh, perfect.
Jason, over the next city.
In the morning, I just stopped in to ask them,
Yeah.
which is when I got this flight. I knew nothing about, I didn't even know you guys in existence, your board was even in existence.
No, if there's a map,
There's
this
a
is
lot of
this
people.
happened, it shows
Yeah.
all parts.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I can ask.
And we
I
know
don't
that.
think I-
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that there's a lot,
I'm
like,
working on it, it's
Yeah.
gonna be
if
you and me.
everybody understood,
Yeah, just Google Maps.
like,
Now,
financial
we're
reasons
decided that.
that we don't get any
Obviously, we're here, so
park district
So-
tax money, that we're all paying, we are paying for
The
parks,
not even in Medina. I mean, it's
right?
Harrison Township.
But people
You know,
don't
it's-
understand that. And then to understand that, gee, with just a little bit of money
Foundations here. This is-
from everybody, it could go a long way in our parks, and we've got some plans to make that happen.
Yeah.
Where does this go from? Is it-
Like, you're
And
trying to like,
it's education.
when I was president, and Dan was president again, and you know, Fred's president for 2 years, like, we need to do stuff that fits into the current how current. Not everybody can come to 3 meetings a month. We go to 1 meeting, we go to the regular meeting. We have to
I'm kidding.
we don't know product, but everybody's friend picks up something, and everybody's gonna throw it in the pot, and out there and pay back.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Help,
Now, the city got a grant, and they had a match to put sidewalks down Taylor. So there's a sidewalk and bike path.
Probably for the community connections night.
And it starts paving the corner.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's on either side, and all the
Anything you have, you pick a card.
I've got it, I've got it.
Okay.
lots.
Yeah.
And I see that they,
Thank you, nice for coming.
and they did extra things this year, so, he's speaking up every time, so anything, I'm like,
Yeah.
thank you, so.
So I drive.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
I'm, well, I'm working on that, I actually have a little, like, thing,
I see these paths
3 times a year, I see it, I love it. And it's
City
called-
has money in it, but nobody knows.
They got a grant.
Yeah.
Over here on the edge.
Yeah, matching money or that, put some extra money in, but they got a big grant. I mean, it's like,
You know, and then they go like an access
$500,000,
time.
and they got it.
Take that
I have a
straight,
session.
that is.
Yeah.
Now we gotta do it, so they did it.
Well, I saw that in there.
That's just not.
Just cause, yeah.
Yeah, you don't get a stash,
Yeah.
yeah, so she's supposed to.
Well, we don't go down, Alaska doesn't go to Wagner, it's on Taylor.
You're right.
Liberty?
But I'm thinking
And
on
so that has
Wagner.
that has no also has pond there. And it's a small wooded area, and a big overseas, that's
Just
just
north of Broad Street.
And
And I'm
so that one
thinking
is
maybe
getting.
something for an extra container, because that.
Because rather than just
Oh.
like linear, I'd like to see
That's
it.
terrible.
It is terrible. But they
Because
now
then you
have
start
a
to-
sidewalk to put, and I'm thinking, what a waste. You know, they put that money towards an extra lane, it would help out a whole lot more.
Right,
I needed somebody.
well, that's out of our hands, somebody else gets to decide that.
We didn't have,
We are not.
we don't have special things, yeah. Yeah.
No shit skills.
Yeah,
No.
It's good for them. You're right.
It's good right
I
now.
see a lot of people walking.
lots of people walking by, yeah, those trails, and I have, my parents are still alive at 85 and 86. And,
Okay, yeah.
so I'm watching them try to walk and negotiate, and even, you know, if there's uneven ground, it's really tough. It's really tough for her to walk.
I know that, I didn't know that at all.
And I'm a big, huge firm believer that, like, as we are getting older, if we don't stay active, if we don't keep going, I've watched my mom, just observations, I've watched my mom get stronger, not be at full risk, not even need her cane, but she had to walk every day when my dad had open heart surgery. And she had to walk through the hospital and all the way back, and she was doing that a couple times a day. And so, at the end of 4 weeks, or 6 weeks, she didn't need her cane. She didn't look like she was gonna fall over, just losing her balance. And it's that keeping that exercise going and keeping that going. And as our communities get older, we start to stay younger. You know, I think, you know, for that reason too, I would really like, I'd like to see that foundation pass.
I would too, because like I
We
say, my
need-
neighbors,
Oh, well, thank you very much for coming.
my neighbors are out on the streets and stuff, because they're
Sure is, yeah.
we need more
Right.
asphalt. It's solid, you can't walk on those strips. And as far as staying active, yes, I used to play in Pasco, last year. Softball league, got a little older, that's gotta be a lot of young people in there. I played in 2 softball leagues, senior softball leagues in Burlington. One's a 65 and older than I've been, the other one's a 70 and older than I've been. I go Florida, I play at Winter Haven softball club.
Very fun, very fun.
I play volleyball every Monday night, and I golf with some of my retired buddies, when I can, they golf a lot. So
We're still kind of getting ourselves settled in, but at the same time.
Golf is a sport like the other ones.
We've been there.
There's,
Right, well,
in Peninsula, there's a lot of opportunities to get involved.
yeah, for sure.
Lions Club,
And I know
Rotary,
senior
and,
softball league too.
you know, volunteer parks and rec, stuff like that, so, yeah.
Two guys with more commitment.
She retired, and I've been retired.
One way to go is go back to foundation.
Kind of put my
Oh, yes, right.
I play in the senior softball league. I don't live right out of Meadow, I'm not around the range, which is right off of Oak
My son,
But 3 of us are just in that whole neighborhood, play up there in the senior leagues.
Oh,
and
planning on being
there
here.
being of interest in
Cool,
senior
yeah.
softball.
Welcome to the community.
What I do know,
I've been here
a little older,
2
is
years.
adult softball.
Moved to Pennsylvania, my
My
father
A
was
little
a,
faster, huh?
like, South Central Waynesboro,
more competitive.
Greensboro,
you know,
it was north of Hagerstown, I believe.
us old guys
Maryland.
fight for it. But
I
anyway,
understand.
well, thank you for taking the time to listen to me.
Yeah.
My input.
We appreciate all the input.
Glad to know about your meetings and plan on the
Okay, cool.
Yeah, great.
Plan on no problem volunteering.
Yeah.
We'll see you next spring.
Anything comes from it, I'm ready.
I'm here until the 12th of November, so I think I wrote down you guys meet the first Tuesday every month. So maybe I'll before I head. I come back around the 20th of April, and the reason I come back then because the softball league I played in Worthington, the first game was the last week in April.
Oh, there you
So I
go.
have to be
Yeah.
back by then to catch that first game we play there, so. But yeah,
Like you to be
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff. If you're handy, I mean, there's stuff that
Wow.
just
Yes.
Yeah.
fixed.
This one.
Stuff getting set up like for any of these
Well, we
days in
came
the
with
park,
Traeger race, so we
Fortune
could
Park and
finish
stuff
this
that
thing,
Lanier
but
has. office set up.
came for him, so.
Never had
And
those.
then,
Yes.
our in-laws,
Started.
the little brother,
Never.
he's next up too.
Like,
And he
not
wants-
invited public, yeah.
He liked those disgusting vegetables, that's what they're called.
Somebody just gave me one.
Oh, that's the most horrible
That's
thing I've ever heard to give
awesome.
somebody.
That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
What's your name?
I don't think you guys know this Barstow.
Brendan,
It's, my name is Cindy Friel. Kurt, nice to meet you.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't get any of you
Awesome
guys'
though.
names
Keep me posted,
when
yeah.
you were starting your meeting.
Well, you know what, we didn't offer our names to you guys, did we? We were rude.
I know.
Oh,
You're
you're
good.
the
Drivers
president.
and
You're
websites.
the rude. You're the rude.
That'd definitely be conceptual,
Thank you for
wouldn't it?
coming out, appreciate it.
I wasn't gonna settle it here all there, just.
Well, I know, we weren't very loud, were we?
No.
Dog
We
park, I
should
was
have
like,
introduced
oh,
ourselves.
that's horrible.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for
No
inviting
problem.
us.
When there has been-
No, and he did
We
tell
have a
us
Jack Russell
that,
mix.
he met, I think it was, he
And it's
met
my
with
son that's in the Navy.
to
He went
start
to
BJ,
partnering.
he was here,
Left
he
his
was
dog
over
with
at my
us.
office
Yeah.
yesterday.
And got a puppy.
And, lots of opportunities.
The puppy's not coming to us when he gets
We brainstormed,
deployed.
so hopefully
Not coming.
help him out.
He's in the nuclear engineering
But the
program.
road's
You
good.
gotta get the ball
That's my
rolling.
lazy
Gotta
Wow.
create some buzz, you know?
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, thanks for
Were you
coming out.
in the Navy?
No, I was in the Air Force.
Okay.
And you do
Yeah,
have a nice
they all work
place.
together.
And, have a good
Oh,
one.
yeah.
You as
We're
well.
gonna be out there tomorrow
More
with
than
a
welcome.
flail mower. We're gonna knock
Yeah,
it.
thank you very much. I greatly appreciate
And
what
then
you
we're gonna
folks.
pave
You're
and
more than welcome.
Love to see the community.
Touched it.
Coming up.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had a good showing today.
Collaboratively with John.
Thank you.
Inside their document.
Did you guys turn that off?
We've got all kinds of projects for next year.
I don't know.
It's a lot to keep up with.
We were having several different conversations, so.
3 weeks, I go out there for.
We did